Good afternoon, this is Charles McCall again, and I'm sitting in the same booth at the same restaurant here in Kapong Cham City on my way to Battambang. And we're looking at 1 Timothy chapter 5, and we're going to be looking at all the way through, I hope, through verse 3 through verse 16. And so the point, they're talking about widows here. And so here's the point. I don't think I've ever heard anybody preach on this subject before, but the church should take care of the widows. It's very clear in this passage. So we can say, it's up to you. You can say that, well, this is for ancient times. It's not for us today. We're in a different society. And so that's between you and God, how you interpret this. But it says very clearly in this passage, I'm not going to read it all, is that the church should take care of widows financially and in others' ways, where it says honor widows who are really widows. This word honor, the same word that is used when it talks to honoring elders and honors those who teach, and it has a financial connotation. And so in the first church, we have the example of widows that were brought in and were taken care of by the church. And it goes on to clarify here in a moment about what kind of people those widows are and what a true widow is and what not a true widow is. And so I don't know if I've heard of any churches that do that. Mennonites might do it, I'm not sure. There's a denomination here in Cambodia that I would have to give respect to them, is that they have a lot of orphanages, and they put a widow or more than one widow in every orphanage, and that widow takes care of the orphanage, takes care of the children in that orphanage. So that way they minister to the widow and they minister to the orphans as well. And so here Paul did identify what a widow is, and so this is the key. Not everybody who is separated from their spouse because of death or divorce or any other reason is a biblical widow in the sense of what God considers them a widow. Paul says a widow is somebody who has no children to take care of them. And so he goes on to say that families must take care of their elderly. If you have a widow in your family, God says that you should take care of that widow. And she's a widow if she's alone. She's a widow if she trusts God, and she's a widow if she's faithful and a prayer warrior, and she serves the saints. That's the characteristic of widows. A widow is not automatic. A widow that the church takes care of is not just someone that is separated, divorced, their spouse has died. That does not automatically classify them, as we're going to see, to be put on the list. But they have to be alone, truly alone, no family at all to take care of them. Because if they have a family, that family should take care of them. And it has to be someone who trusts in God. They're a firm believer, and they're a prayer warrior. That she's a prayer warrior. That she seeks God. She stands in the gap and cries out. And going on in verse 9 through 10, that there's a widow's list. The early church actually had a widow's list. And they said if she's not over 60 years old, she can't be put on that list. So again, you and I can figure that out. Is that a firm number? That was true in those days. It's true today as well. But if she was not over 60 years old, she couldn't be put on the widow's list, and she didn't get any financial help from the local church. She has to be married only once. Not married multiple times, but married only once. And she must have a good reputation, and she should be a servant in the church that welcomes strangers and helps the afflicted and has done many good deeds. And so as churches are looking who they might want to help, there are some qualifications. There are some standards that the people that we help must meet. Very important to understand that the church helps, and we want to reach out, we want to help people who are in need, but we don't help just everybody in need. That there are standards that people meet that we should be obligated for them to hold to that standard. He goes on to say younger widows should marry, and the final verse in verse 16, he reminds us, is that if any believing man or woman has widows, let them relieve them, and do not let the church be burdened, that it may relieve those who are really widows. So again, he emphasizes that if we have family members that are widowed, they're divorced, they're separated, their spouse has died, well then we as a family need to take care of them and not burden the church. However, there is a place for the local church to take care of those amongst them who are true widows.